So, good evening once again. It's a privilege to be in this warm country at this time. I never had Christmas in summer. You see, I'm 55 years old now, and always I'm home at Christmas, because that's the time when no one invites you to go somewhere to speak. But already it happens twice in the past that I was one Christmas in the States where I had to go somewhere. And last year I was in Spain, but at least I came home for the 26th so that we could meet with the family. But now I'm here for the whole time of Christmas and New Year, so I'm looking forward to be a good time. And since I like summer more than winter, it's not a bad thing to be here. Now, of course, the fires are also hot, so they give us some work, but still we can make it and go through it. Now, as I said before, I work as a physician, as an ENT, in my practice for 16 years. And when I started at the beginning, you start like a newcomer when you come from school and from doing your residency. You have worked hard and now you start to do your own thing. But something was strange with me in my practice because I could not answer the question, why? You see, if a person comes to you and says, look, I have a ringing in this ear, and it started 2 days ago, or 10 days ago, or 3 years ago. And you look to the ear, you look to the patient, and then you must say, well, I don't know why you have this, but let's try to do this. Yes, you have something to try, because medicine offers a lot of remedies, but do you know what you do? Are you a professional, or are you just a guest worker? Would you like to be a professional that works like a guest worker? Just trying things out? And imagine in my long medical study and in my residency, you don't put usually those questions because you were not encountered with them. You just work like it is said to work, and you are busy, but you are not aware of the main issues of humanity. So I had to find out the why. And since you learn in school that you don't know the why, you must just do something about it. There is no book that says why you get sick. You know that? You can ask Dr. Google. And Dr. Google, who knows all answers, does he? No, but he won't tell you where thoughts come from. Yes? Or where is meningitis coming from? Or where does cancer come from? He tells you a lot of options, but never, that's it. Yeah, so you have options, but how do you know? When you have lung cancer, if you didn't smoke, you have one left. One you excluded. If you smoked, you say it was a smoke. But if you didn't smoke, then what do you do? If you didn't drink, then you have another risk factor gone. And then you have a person that has no risk factor. He never smoked, he never drank. Why did he get it? I had one lady, she was for 40 years vegan, and she got colon cancer. Now I take all kinds of diseases in my practice, not only ENT, because there is one man, there is one body, yes? So we cannot separate him in parts. And so that's why I'm interested in every part of the body that is not functioning well. And so how can you get colon cancer? You never ate for 40 years. You didn't eat meat or had no other risk factors, was vegan for 40 years. And you see, if I would have been a person, I don't know why I'm like I am, but I am like this. I might be born like this, or God has put it into me, I don't know, but to be unknowledged is something that I hate. I mean, if I would be a carpenter, I would not need to know anything about medicine, would I? But if you are called a professional in humanity and you're not able to say the why, you're not able to just, when the person comes to you, I just had this week I worked on Tuesday, because it takes 2 days to come here. I worked on Tuesday, and there came a gentleman, 31 years old, and now for 1 year he has recurrent sinusitis. I mean, sinusitis, infections of the nose and his sinus, only on the right side of his body, of his head. It comes again and again, but only the right side. He used several times antibiotics, but it comes back. Now, what do you do with this guy? What can you do as a medical if you really want to help him? If you really want to know why does he has that, you must know how humanity works, do you? You must know exactly why it's the right side and not the left. You must know the guy. You must know. So this is my expectation on my own profession. When a person comes to me telling me his symptoms, I immediately must know why. Should that not be that what, you go to any professional person and something is broken and he must tell you this is so. But just in the medical field, we don't have that. We don't have that. And it's how important the field? Yes, it's most important. It should be all very nicely said. So I was unsatisfied, and since there is no book that could answer me this question, and I could not answer the question to my patient, I had to find it out, because I could not handle it to just give some therapies, write prescriptions, and put your signature because you're a doctor, but you have no idea what you do. And so this is my journey. That's how I started. And of course, being a Christian, I had no other way to go than to God, and said to him, you have made us. And obviously, these books don't describe anything, from where things come from. It's all relative. It's nothing 100%. And I told him that he must teach me, because he knows how he made us, and I must know how we function. So that's how it started, that I did it in a very simple way. I took my patient with his physical symptoms, at the beginning just in my field as an ENT, and then I saw that it's all linked together. You have left ear ringing and the right knee arthrosis. And then that fits well together, because in your brain they are neighbors. It's a long distance from the left ear to the right knee, but it fits very well together. And so then I started to look again to anatomy, and and you need to find things out how they work. So I put their physical symptoms and their life history. So I put on one side the physical items and all those, when it appears, how it is, and a very thorough history. And on the other side, I took their life history. What happened in their life, their parents, the things. And it started from the beginning. I was very curious, especially on people that had all kinds of diseases. The multi-sick person was my most wanted person, because I said, okay, you have a ringing in the ear, so I put all ringing ears in one group, and then I put the neck things in one group, the dizziness people in group, and I said they must have something in common if they all have dizziness. And so God brought me then one day 3 dizzy people, so they got the same history. And then you got the ringing ear people, and they have the same history. And so you find out things, and then you have those things, those people that have ringing and diabetes and cancer and high blood pressure. And he said, what is wrong with them? Why do they have all those things? And so I invited them to come for study purpose, and I took their story. And you see, you don't need to go very far. If physicians would take the history of what people went through, they would just see in the body the mirror or the effect of that history. You just see it. And of course, at the beginning, I was very amazed. I had no idea, because I started like a non-knowledge person, but it took me 2.5 years to realize that something in the human being we totally miss in medicine. Totally. And so we will speak about that, understanding ourselves. We must find out exactly why the disease is there. I was last week in a city in Germany, and I had a patient coming to me because he is a young man, I think also in his 30s, and he has since 9 months pain in his lower arm, left side. Now he went to the doctors, they made him the screening, some got borreliosis, the Borrelia things, when you have Lyme disease and all this. And he went to the orthopedics. They didn't find nothing in the arm. But he has pain. He has strong pain, and should you know as a physician exactly what he has? Should you not? Yes, of course. If we once understand how human works, medicine becomes very easy. But if you don't, we are just remaining as confused as always. So let us look a little bit to us as humans. So in the first thing, we need to understand that we are put into an environment. And there are 3 environmental factors that we have. We must live in a space, yes? And then we must live in time. No one can live without time. And you see, time has only one direction, yes? It goes only in one direction. And then we have around us society, people. So, do we need to adjust to these outside factors? Yes or no? Yeah. So, and in our adjustment, we need to know how to deal with time. So I define stress as a conflict with time. Yeah? It's not only time, but just to have some definitions. So, most people have an issue with time. They're not even aware of it. There was a lady who had for 7 years a ringing in her left ear. And she came to me and I asked her about her history. And 7 years ago, her husband passed away. So I asked her, do you think often to your husband? And then she says, I just live from memories. Now, where is she living? In the present, in the past, or in the future? So she lives in the past. Is that smart? No. Does she live in the past because she wants to, or she has no choice? We'll come to that later. That how she lives in the past not even realizing it. But we would like to go past. Today I spoke, because I do a lot of counseling, on the phone with a lady in Austria, and she is 66 years old, and she got a colon cancer 10 years ago. She did all the therapies, and now she is suspect of uterus cancer. Yeah, she has bleedings, and in the MRI they saw a tumor or a polyp, something, and now she's scheduled for a biopsy to see what it is. Now, understanding humanity, I put her a few questions. And she told me that her mother died in 2001. Her father passed away in 2009. And then I asked her, how often does she think of her mom? What do you think she answered? She says a lot. And I said, do you have guilt thoughts about? And she says, yes. Because I put my mom into the hospital because she had some issues, and there in the hospital, while she was trying to take a pill, the pill stuck in her trachea, in her throat, and she passed away. She got a cardiac stop, and died. And she said, I just came into the room when they tried to resuscitate her, but it was gone. And now she has guilt thoughts that she put her mom in the hospital to take care for her 2 days ago, and now she got killed in the hospital. Now she thinks if she would have not put in the hospital, her mom might still be alive or lived longer. And then she not only has this kind of guilt thoughts, she thinks, I did not behave all the time well to my mom. And she's sorry that she didn't. So where does she live? Does she live in the present? No. She lives in the past. Most diseases come because we live in the past. But is there a possibility to live yesterday? No, it's not possible. We can only live in the present. And then other people live in the future. What is to live in the future? It's when you are worried. Yes? People who worry live in the future, not in the presence. It's not very smart to try to live today, tomorrow. Yes or no? It doesn't make sense. But can you stop worrying? Now, some people say yes. And there is a possibility, we'll see that. But that possibility must bring a total change of looking to things. Yes? Because if you have children, can you not worry for them? Can you be relaxed if your son is addicted to games and he's 21 years old and he's in university, and mother comes to help him because now he has exams and he plays his game? Can mother sit along and say, well, my son, you will make it, no worries? Like you say in Australia, no worries, mate. Do you have such moms around here? I don't have those moms around. They just are in the same, they try something that is impossible. You see, moms don't even realize that their son has control or no control over himself. Pardon? No control. But does she have control when she worries about him? No, she's in the same pit. So who should change? Well, the mom should change first. That's why moms don't like me sometimes. Because I always am with the younger people and not with the older people, because I believe that the older people must do it first. Yes? Because they have the experience. I know when we raised our children, My wife had expectations from them. I said, look, they're 3 times younger than us, and we don't do it, and you ask it that they should do it? You see, it's nonsense. But we still ask people to do something we cannot do. So, not living in the present is a not smart thing. That's why when I'm here, I don't think at home. When I'm home, I don't think somewhere else. Yes, you must have a discipline in the way you think, the way you see things. So I could spend a lot of times here, but now we have to come to anxiety. Anxiety is something I have experienced since my early childhood. And I was always a fearful person. So why do you fear? What do you fear? Now, fear, I explain, is a conflict with space and circumstances. Yes, can you fight the fire? To a certain extent, if you have some instruments, but if you don't, then you run away, yeah, and let the fire alone. So, but the fire is something obvious. Are you fighting with viruses? Are you afraid of them? They might hunt you. Or are you afraid to die suddenly? I was afraid to die suddenly. When I was in my first clinical year, I got all the diseases that my patient had. Yes? And the worst was the heart attack. Yeah? When something on my left side of my thorax did hurt, I thought, now I die. And I went to the emergency doctor to rescue me. Yeah? So for almost 2 years, I was a patient who went from doctor to doctor to get rid of anxiety. I was convinced I will die. I tried to not go on mountains anymore because there cannot come a doctor to save me fast. Yes, you don't go there and you don't go there. And so anxiety and fear takes away your space. You get from not going to that place, you don't go to that place, and then you end up in your own room, not being able to go out of your room. So that's something that's taking more and more thing. And do you need to know why they have it? Should you know exactly why when a young girl, and I had this case, she's an Adventist girl, and she got her fears when she was 15 years old. And it started not going to school. She couldn't go on to school. Then it started she could not go out of the house. And then she cannot go out of the room. Now, should you fight fear or you fight the cause of fear? So for this, you must know that fear is what? An effect or a cause? It's an effect. So you don't fight effects. There's never a good thing to fight effects. You must fight cause. So if you don't know the cause for fear, then you might try to fix something. And she went to the doctor and she went to the psychologist and they told her that she must live her whole life with fear. You just need to adjust to it, to learn to handle it. And she said, I'd rather die than live like this. Because fear is the worst feeling you can have. If someone had panic attacks, if someone had fear, he knows there's no feeling so worse. Pain is nothing compared to fear. And there's something, yes, worse than pain, that's itching. Yes, itching is worse than pain. And fear is the most unpleasant feeling. Yes? And then when you have it, you're then afraid to not get it again. And so you are in a circle. You get it again and again and again because you want to avoid that and it doesn't work. And if we don't know how it works, how can we handle those things? And then, of course, depression or other diseases come because we have a conflict with society and people. So what do you think is most dangerous from all things? Time, space, or society? Yes, so it's our relationships. That's why health and relationship. It's our relationships with those that are closest to us. They are most poisoning and most making disease, and we will go to prove that. So if you look to it, if stress is the effect that I want to control something I cannot control, that is time. If disease, anxiety, is something that I want to control and cannot. Yes, you want to control life or whatever you want to control, it's not under your control, that makes you anxiety. And then if depression arises because you have a conflict with whoever is around you, all these things are attempts that are impossible. You see, how do conflicts arise between humans? Let's say mother and child conflict, or child and mother conflict. How do they arise? What's the main problem in every conflict? You want to control whom? You want to control someone else. Yes? Can a parent control his child? Yes or no? No. There is, when I put questions there, yes, it's just yes and no. There's no gray line nowhere. So can you control or not? No, you cannot. It is just an illusion that you can control. They follow you because they're dependent, but you can never control it. It's an impossible attempt. It's so impossible, like I try sometimes to do experiments with my patients. I say, look, take some speed and go through that wall. How many patients did do that? Why? Pardon? Well, but why would you not try it? Because have you tried it before? You say you have not tried it, so how can you say something that you didn't try? No, you have a reason, have you? And you know what is possible and impossible. So you will not try the impossible if you reason correctly. Because you know it's impossible. But you try only the impossible because you think it's possible. That's why we try to control each other, because we are convinced we can do it. But it's not possible, and I think it's good that man cannot control his wife and wife cannot control his husband. They only can play who's more powerful. And everyone surrenders to the other one, and so one wins the one and one's the other. But it's all an impossible attempt. You see, what I saw through the histories of my patients, I saw something that disease or all difficulties that humans have come from an irrational way of looking to things. I'm so happy that disease isn't a smart thing. It's a stupid thing. I mean, it's the result of an attempt that is totally non-rational. And we still do it. And so why do we have no solution for these things? To not worry anymore, to not fight anymore, and to have no stress. You see, some of you might be Christians, and there is the Sermon on the Mount. Yes, where Jesus preaches the sermon from Matthew 5 to 7. If you would understand that sermon, you would exclude from your life stress, anxiety, and disease. Because it covers all three items. It covers them all. And brings you into the position where fear for the future is gone, sorrows is gone, You have no conflicts because you love your enemy. Yes? Even though it's your wife or not, but you love him. And when you love, how much enemies do you have? None. Yes? And so you can have no disease, no depression. And if you don't try to control what's not possible, anxiety is eliminated. It's gone. So why have we no solution? And what I found out through my patients, and I think it's the truth, is that we have no knowledge of ourselves and on the law of nature. We don't know ourselves. You see, humans live like animals. Even though they have the ability to look into the mirror and they can see if things work right and wrong, they don't do it. They are just living a very superficial way of looking to things, and thanks God for disease, because it brings them that they must start thinking. They must start evaluating. Because can I heal? Can I heal? As a human, can I heal? No, can I do healing? That's why. Yeah, so my language is sometimes, so when you all say yes, then I know I didn't put the right question. So I have no healing power. Yeah? That's what I wanted to ask. So I must talk to my patients. I am just a teacher. That's what I learned. A doctor must be a teacher. And I say to my patients, I give you the instruction of how you work. But you have to push your buttons yourself. And if you know them, I mean, you don't know them because you have not studied them. That's why I'm a physician, to help you to see them. And then you go on and pushes the button and everything will go well. But for this, we must have a knowledge of how we work, and we must have a knowledge of nature. Now, there is an issue that God had with his professional ones, not with the people. So if you're not a professional, don't think on that. He talks to the professional priests. And priests in the Old Testament and in the New were doctors. Yes, the doctor and the priest were the same person. And he says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge. In other translations it says wisdom. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing that thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. I will also forget thy children. So the priests or the doctors are there to teach the people so that they should not die for lack of knowledge. But unfortunately, this is our history through the world. So something must change, does it? And this is why I do these presentations, because I want to change something against the lack of knowledge. It says, one of my teachers is Solomon, even though he lived 3,000 years before me, but he left something written. And Solomon is my I say so, attending doctor. If there is a doctor that would help us a lot with the cause of disease and also the solution, then Solomon is the best doctor. But you don't find him in the curriculum of the universities. So my son, let not them depart from thine eyes. Keep sound wisdom and discretion. So shall they be life unto the soul and grace to thy neck. Then shalt thou walk in the way safely, and thy foot shall not stumble. So do we need wisdom? I like Proverbs 3. It's all about wisdom. And it says there, the wise shall inherit glory, but shame shall be the promotion of the fools. You see, we are fools because we are not thinkers. We don't explore things. Rather, you see, and in this situation of not exploring things, who do you think is more worse, man or woman? Man. Yes, men, I think. You see, I said this young man who's 31 years old, I said, you have a disadvantage. You are young and you're a man. Because men do not think why it is on the right side of their head. They don't try to explore things. If you ask a man if he has an issue, he will say to you what? No, because man has no issue ever. They're just ready. They do everything right. They don't see it. And then if you ask a woman if she has an issue, at least 10. But you see, that's an advantage because you're aware that something needs to be fixed. Unfortunately, she tries to fix him, but that's a deception. So if we would just understand and be wise, be not fools in the way we think, in the way we explore things, saying, okay, I need to know this. And I don't get off until I know it for sure. So we must be diligent searchers. Now, before you search or when you want to address a subject, you must know some fundamental things. So we have all a reason and we need information. And we need to know how our mind works in order to know how to use it. Yeah? So our mind is dependent on information. It must have information. That's why you read news. That's why you're curious. Are anyone here curious? Yes? So you want to know things you don't need to know, but you still want to know them. So you are going to read what? Books. I just read last week, I spoke to a person on the phone. He's a young man, 22 years old. And he reads a book a week. He said, I read so many books. I said, that's why you're so weird. I mean, that's why you are confused. Yeah? Because Solomon says, how many books should you read? Not many. Yes? He says, reading books makes you... What does it do with your mind? So, read Solomon. You find it in the Ecclesiastes, chapter 12. So you read books, but you need to know why you read those books. What is that? How do you extract the information from the book? So we need words, we need studies, we have experiments, observations, thesis, hypothesis, whatever we have. Those are carrier of information, and we need to know how does information get into your mind. How does it get into your mind? By hearing? By reading? By seeing? Now it's a tricky question. That's why I'm hesitating to. So what you hear, does it enter your mind or not? What you see, does it enter your mind or not? What you read, does it enter your mind or not? What you taste, yes or no? Or does it enter just a four-room? I mean, you have a door here before you enter the main room. Yes, foyer, yes. So it enters into the foyer, but it doesn't enter your mind. The only way it can enter is that you must prove that what you assimilate is truth. The door that takes in information is truth. And if you don't believe it, what happens with the information? It remains outside. It remains in the foyer, and from there it disappears. So that's why just hearing things, Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount, if you hear this and don't do it, then you are a foolish person. And if you hear it and do it, that means you took it in because you saw it as the truth. You see, the human mind was so made, he cannot, it's not a choice. His door is truth. And if he takes something in, he only takes it in because he's convinced it is truth. But imagine that he is convinced that the lie is the truth. He takes it in as well. So how can you convince him that he's in a lie? If he believes it is the truth. So the problem of humanity is that you must sell every information as truth. Because you would never take it if you would know it's a lie. And this is human's issue. It must pass the truth. And now the question is that Pilate asked Jesus, what is the truth? Because Jesus said, I came and I was born for the purpose to testify for the truth. And he's asked, what is truth? So do you know what truth is? I mean, you don't need to answer, but you need to put your question. You must know about what kind of a truth is it speaking about. Because if you don't have the truth there, would have Jesus needed to come if the truth would be there? No, because there is deception, there is believing the lies, and Jesus comes in order to remove that lie and establish the truth. That's the whole battle, that's the whole issue. Because there is only one door that can enter your mind, and that is truth. But if that truth is a lie, you will believe a lie and be convinced it's the truth. Now, how can one discern what is truth or not? There must be a tool so that you open that door, by which you say, oh, this is the truth, come in. And if it's not the truth, you say, sorry, you stay out. And I found only, how many things? One thing. So what is it? Well, I would expect from Christian to say the Bible. But where would you put the Bible? On this side or on this side? On the entrance or on the outside? I mean, what is the Bible? Is the Bible words? It's a book. So it is a carrier of information. So you need to take that in, do you? So by what do you take the Bible in? Pardon? Well, if you read, you can read from beginning to the end. It remains in the foyer. What does take the Bible in? You must extract from the Word the information. And you need a tool for that. And I believe if we would have understood the tool by which to evaluate truth and separate it from error, we would be the most expert people in the world. We would have a mind that can discern immediately. Yes? Because if you read the Bible very well, Paul says, who is the one that is perfect? Who is the one? He says in Hebrews chapter 5, the last verse, he says, he who is able to understand or make the difference between truth and lie, or evil and good. Because where is the separation line? Because today you would say it's all relative. Yeah? Well, people say it's all relative. So how do you know where is the line that separates truth from a lie? Because do you think truth has any common with lie? Is there any commonness of... No, they're total separate lines. They're total separate parts. But if you don't know how to draw the line, you might say, oh, this is truth. And I could give you some example. I'm sometimes afraid you cannot handle the example. But I give you one from my experience. There was a gentleman come into my practice. And he comes from Romania. And in Romania, there is one major cause of disease. And that is the wind. Pardon? The draft. Draft. So see, they would not sit here in between two air conditioners. and if there once was in the draft, that's the cause why 10 years later, they still have headaches or whatever it is, because once in a while I pass to that draft, and since then I have the issue. So with the draft, but it's gone. If it's a draft that makes you sick, you are the victim forever. Now this gentleman is a man, he sleeps for 20 years with his head in the night. He puts a cap, and during the day he has cotton balls in the ear canals, because he says the wind might blow, and the Lord didn't do it right to open the ear, so he puts something there, and he sleeps with his cap. And his wife one night, and he said, when I don't wear the cap, next day I have throat pain. Mom said, okay. And so she took one night the cap off, and guess what did he have next day? He had throat pain. And so for her, the thing was truth. Because she did what? Experimented. Now, are experiments truth? Well, experiments cannot be the truth. That's why, will a case study ever prove the truth? I hope not. Because you have no idea what is there. Yes, so the cases, and also when I bring cases, I never want to prove anything with a case. A case is just an illustration of the truth. It's never the truth. Yeah, because I cannot know anything in that person's life, can I? I can explore it. So they came into my practice for this reason. Could he convince me that throat pain and wearing a cap has a cause-effect relationship? Could he convince me? No. Why not? Yeah, because I said to him, look, there is no law in nature that can handle, that makes you have throat pain if you don't wear a cap in the night, or some cotton balls in the ear during the day. There is no law in nature. No matter what you experiment, no matter how it is, even if you experiment every morning, it's still not the truth. You must stay on something that's unmovable. And the only thing that is unmovable is what? It's the law of nature. And if you don't have the law, you just get fooled by experiments and by case studies and by this and by that. And you have no 100% security for what you know or not, what you let in or not. So that's why we need to know interpretation is the opening of the door of that information to come in. I say it's the unloading of the information from the Word, because the Word is just a carrier of information. So what is the Bible? Information or carrier of information? It's a carrier of information. Because everyone can go there and can extract, and who is right? Why do we fight? Because it's the same word. You see, you take one Bible verse and you give it to 10 scholars or 10 people, and to what conclusion do they come? 10 different conclusions. And all the interpretation methods that I know on Bible or on any interpretation are pure subjective. You know, grammar is subjectivity. Or is it not subjectivity? Yes, it's subjective. It might be a help, but it's still subjective. You must have something that takes out that thing from it, and it's the only two way of extracting. Either the scale is yourself. You know by yourself what is the truth and the error. So you interpret things according to your own estimation and your ability. And then you think that you have interpreted that thing properly. The lady interprets the experience of her husband according to what? Thinking that she is right if she has made the experiment. But if she would take the law, then she would trust the scale, not her estimation, that is outside of herself, in order to think and interpret properly. So if we would all have the same tool of interpretation, we can come to different conclusions, but all conclusions would be complementary and never contradictory. Where contradictory exists, one is not right, or both are not right. But there is no contradictory in truth. Yes, they're not possible. That's why if we would all have the same measure of extracting the truth from the Bible, yes, knowing how to do that, the information by the truth, by the law, then we would come to a unity that would be fantastic. Everyone could share his own extraction, but no one would tell anything that would be a contradiction to what the other found out. Because our minds are different, and some have more abilities to dig, and others have not so good abilities to dig. But everyone would dig with the same digger, so to say, yes, with the same instrument, and they could not come to any contradiction in it. So our truth enters the mind, either it's my subjective estimation, there are only these two things. It's either your subjective estimation or it's the scale, and that's the law of nature. There's only this way of knowing what is the truth. So when I started the study, I had to put it on something that I could not change with my own mind. So there are a few things you cannot interpret. And the law must not be interpreted. You don't need any interpretation for the law. Because it's self-evident. It's self-evident. You just need to acknowledge it, but there is no need for interpretation. So the basic law of nature that we will study and see and base all our knowledge on it has nothing to do with interpretation. You just use it as a tool for your own mind to dig in and see what is the information that you want to know. There are 5 unchangeable things, and the next thing that we need to know are also not interpretable, they are just self-evident, and that is structure and function of the human. So when you have a pen like this, and the human would be this pen, would be his function and his structure self-evident, or would you need to interpret? It's self-evident because that's the one button. It's nothing that you need to interpret. You just need to acknowledge. Yes? So, let me ask you, how many different human structures do we have? So what is the second? Pardon? Well, yes, but is the structure in male and female different? Now, structure means, is the eye of a woman different than the eye of a man? It can be different in color and size, but in structure, in structure. So you have an eye doctor for women and an eye doctor for men? Because there's a difference? Yes or no? Do you have an ENT doctor for women and an ENT doctor for men? No, because it's the same structure. Even the genital organs are structured the same, even though the one is like this showing and the other one is like that. So the structure is in all humans the same. Why? Because we come from how many humans? From one. Okay? So we are just the descendants of one person, and that is Adam. Yes? Eve was how much percent of Adam? 100% of Adam. So that's why he says, his flesh from my flesh and bone from my bone. So she must be out of me. Yes? So, and since then they had children, and they all were in which structure? In the same, because there is only one structure of humanity. So if we must know the structure, and this needs us to understand, this needs us to study it, to know how is the human being put together. If we don't know that, we will never know anything about how we get sick and why do we do what we do. So structure is self-evident, we just need to know it, and it's in all humans the same. You see, when I once found out the structure, to be a physician is an easy thing from diagnostic perspective. The only difficulty that I face is to tell it to the patient. Because he has no idea. And he is not even open to listen. So he must be very sick in order to listen. Yeah, that's why some people come and contradict me and say, don't worry, get sick and then come to me, we fix it. Because then you can understand things. So structure is something we need to know that will take us most time in our whole study to understand the structure. And then we need to know function. Structure and function are linked together because structure is the button. Yes? If I don't push the button, do I function or not? No, that's why I need to know where is the button of the function. Where is your liver starting to function? Do you know that? Where is the button of the liver? Where is the button of your heart? Where is the button of your eyes or your ears or your nose that only the right side is, the right button is not right working? So you need to know where is the beginning of function. And since we don't know that in medicine, we have never any clue where disease comes from. That's why we must say, we don't know. We don't know. But we know this and we know that and we might this and do that, but it's never 100% knowledge. So structure and function, we need to understand because they are fixed by the Creator. They are self-evident. No need for interpretation. You just need to interpretation what's the result. And then, can any structure function without power? Now, do you know with what you function? What is the things that puts you into function? You know that? Which is that power? Pardon? Pardon? Well, is that the power by which you function? Pardon? No, the heart is just the element. It's the part of a structure. So what is the energy by which you work? Yes, you need electricity, but is that the power by which you work? You see, this is something you never learn in medicine. Pardon? Well, the power of God has a name. All power comes from God, so it doesn't matter. But what is the power you as a human work with? What puts your liver into function? What? So what is... Now, you see the thing? It starts at the really bottom line of it. I never knew it. It took me 2.5 years to understand that it is love. It's love that puts your liver into function. It's love that puts your brain into function. Everything in this universe is put to function by love. And we ourselves first. That means love is the power by which everything works. But how many curriculums, how many studies about love do we have in medicine? Not even in theology. Do we have in theology an item that we say now we study love? Do we have that? No. And I say, I was so amazed in my first 2.5 years, said, what is most important in the human being, you ignore totally. Because all my patients, you see, I went home every night and telling my teenage people at home, I say, my patient today got sick because of lack of love. The ear is running because the husband is in the hospital, and the voice is not working because he was cheated on. And you know, every story, I went home and my youngsters, they were 14, 16 and 18, how did they react to what I said? They laughed about me. They say, how will you ever prove that? And that kicked me. I mean, I said, I will prove it to you. Because I cannot ignore the fact I could not find any physical thing that makes that ringing in the ear. I could not. But I found the spiritual one. I found the way they think. And so I was convinced, and today I'm convinced as more as ever, that the main part that we function by love only, we are in total ignorance. And how can ever we can become healing? If love or the lack of love makes us sick, if disease is the physical evidence of missing love in your life, then it is a fantastic thing. Is it? I am so happy for it. But I never knew it. You study a lot, medical, you go through all the schools, and no one tells you that love puts your liver into function. And your brain. It's not electricity. Electricity is the result of it. So, and then we have basic needs. What sustains function? We need air, we need food, but they don't put us into function. They are just sustaining the function. That's two different things. Yes? So, chemicals sustain function, but they never put you into function. You must first function before you can eat. Yes? Because your food is just sustaining your function. We need both of them. They are basics, but we must make a difference. That puts me into work, and that is just keeping me. So what brings you up the mountain? It's your food or your will? It's your will, but if you don't eat, you don't get so far. Yes? But it's never the food. You can eat as much food as you want. It will never make you up to go the mountain or go working out. Yes, people like to work out, especially when they're young. We all went to that as we were young. But now we are old, we don't need that anymore. So you want something, and because you want something, you do some efforts. Yes? So that's why you eat something that the muscle should grow. But they are not put into function by what you eat. They are put into function by what you think. And thoughts and love is something. So we have to have these 5 things. We must prove them. They are self-evident. They are not arguable about, but we must know them. And with these 5 things, I promise you, if you are able to calculate, you can calculate everything. And you can find it out. What is in the realm of possibility or what is impossible. I'm so thankful that you have something that you have as tools there that are self-evident by which you can calculate that which is not self-evident. Yes? So you can figure it out, you can find it out. So we go shortly through the 4 things, but just very short. So we must know things for sure, how they work. And I always take things at the basis of basis. So the universe is built on 2 pillars. If we understand those 2 pillars, it says that nothing can exist out of itself. It's also self-evident that nothing can exist out of itself. And the second thing that is self-evident, but humans don't see it, is nothing was made for itself or himself. Okay? Was the woman made for men or not? That's what he thinks when he reads the Bible without the law as an interpreter. You know, if nothing in the universe was made for itself or himself, then man cannot claim that woman was made for himself. Okay, so you see where the difficulties start. We must know there is no evidence in the whole world that you can see that any item is made for itself. Is this made for itself? No, it must serve a purpose outside of itself. I asked I was in August, I was in Myanmar, in a big school, or seminary, and they have over 700 students. And the girls were sitting on this side and the boys on this side. And then I asked the girls if they need love. What do they say? Yes. Big yes. And then you have that question. So nothing can exist out of itself. You must have that love. Do you? Yes? You must take it somewhere. Everything needs energy. All energy comes from outside. You know the second thermodynamical laws or whatever. All energy must be taken and passed on. So I put the question to the girls. And they said, yes, we need love. And then I said to them, how much love do you need for yourself? Are girls here? No, that's a very good answer. So, how much love do you need for yourself? How much? You need it. Yes, you need it. No question. But how much do you need it for yourself? Pardon? It's nothing for you. You are just need it to pass it on to the other side, I showed to the boys. Did they like it? So, the boys liked it, yes, but you see, you understand, but it's the same thing. Boys need what? They say respect, because they don't talk about love, you know, they're boys. Yes, so they ask them if they need respect, and then you say, yes, so how much respect do you need for yourself? None. You just have it to pass it on. See, there is nothing. And some people say to me, but is there not a little bit love for me? I said, no. If you keep a little bit love for you, you die. Because the law doesn't permit you to keep anything for you. How much of the oxygen does the lung keep for itself? How much? 100% is given. How much does the stomach keep for itself? How much does the liver keep for itself? There is no item, nowhere in this universe. And we can see just our world, but it's enough, I think, that nothing was made to keep something for itself. And I take sometimes usually people put me a thing to drink here. I have here. I have a bottle to drink. Yeah, so why do we make bottles? To keep the water or to give the water? Yes, everything was made to give. But how much can the bottle give water from itself? No, so you have to first put the water into the bottle. But imagine you put the water in the bottle and you want to drink and the bottle keeps the water. What would you do with the bottle? Throw it away because it was nothing. So the bottle was made for the water, but the bottle needs how much water? None. Imagine it keeps it for it. It's not possible. So we must understand, when I drink, do I keep anything for me? No, you must pass it on. You cannot keep it in your mouth. You can say, oh, maybe I keep a little bit in my mouth. So it's not possible. You must swallow it or spit it out. Yeah? So the law never, ever changes. So here we need to understand this is so self-evident, but you will see how hard it is when it comes on the spiritual, practical matter that you want something for yourself. You would have never a fight in your family if it would not be for you. Never, ever. Never, ever. So, of course, we need a source where we take all powers. So, let's see. The law of life is this, what you see. And there is one word that is at the bottom of all laws. What do laws govern? And I like the bottom of the bottom because I want something where it's no deeper. When it's something that is going deeper, you are not at the bottom. Yeah? So you need the bottom, and the bottom line of all laws is you are dependent. Laws just govern dependencies. Okay? Are you dependent? Yes. Because of the law that says you have needs. You must fulfill those needs. And if all needs would be fulfilled, we would have normal function and would be 100% healthy. You can never be sick inside the law. You must be outside the law in order to be sick. There is a need that is not fulfilled, and so sickness is just the tolerance part when you're outside the law until you get to die, because when you're death, you don't need any law, because there are no conditions for death. Yeah? So that's why when we know this, whenever we have a dysfunction, we must ask ourselves, where do we break the law? That is, where do we not satisfy the needs? Now, how many needs do we have? We have the physical, and our body is so made that when something is at the edge, he comes and tells you. Do you know what is heat when it's too warm? You know what it is? When you freeze, do you know what you lack? Yes. When you're freezing, then it's too cold. That's what we do in Germany now. And you are sweating here in Australia. Do you do that by choice? No, because your body has these needs and you cannot change them. You can just acknowledge it and do something about it. So you have learned, and you don't need to go to school, what is warm and what is cold. You have no need to go to school to know what is thirst and what is hunger. Yes? What is tiredness. Those are all physical body reactions that show that you are in the law or at the edge of the law. You are at the edge. You must do something about it so that it doesn't go into that other direction. So now we have a lot of body reactions. We have dizziness, we have cancer, we have sinusitis, right or left side or both sides. We have nose running, we have nose bleeding. What does the body say? Pardon? You miss something. Yes? Your body tells you by choice or by no choice. There's no choice. If he doesn't get what he needs, he must express it. And now imagine the body gives you a symptom and you don't understand the symptom. Can you handle it? Can you satisfy it? And so our diseases, our health system just goes the way down, even though we have so much technology and we have so much things, but we don't know what the body says when you're sick. And not understanding the message, you try to remove the message, instead the need that brings out the message. Imagine when you're hungry, you take a pill against the hunger. Would that be smart for life? No, because hunger is there put into the body that you get aware that there is a lack of chemistry that you need to supply in order that function should go well. That's why there must be, this disease is just an expression of a hunger. Of a hunger for what? And that is the truth. Disease is an expression of an hunger for love. For righteousness, for liberty, for security, all those items that you have in your needs. And those are just thoughts. That's just in your mind. Do you need righteousness? Yes. What happens with your body when your mind thinks something unrighteous has been done to you? What happens with it? Yes. And you don't know how to fix that. Yes, you go to the doctor. But he doesn't understand, the body? Does he know exactly when your left arm is hurting? Does you understand what the arm says? He just says, hey, I'm lacking righteousness. Some people, when they hear me the first time, they think, he's speaking weird things. There's no scientific method. There's no science, because is in science love somewhere, somewhere inside? Is it? It's not. Love is missing. But I tell you, that's why our diseases are growing, because we don't tell the patient that he must satisfy his need for love, for righteousness, and liberty, and security, and he must do that through the way he thinks. Because he knows where to put the food in, and the water, and the air, and the warmth, but he does not know how his mind functions, how love, righteousness, liberty must be satisfied. That was in 2.5 years, I saw it every day, and at a certain moment I said, I must believe it. And then I had to find out the law, and today, by law, I can prove it to you. When you see the structure, when you see the function, then we will know exactly that these items are the lack. This is what the body expresses, because they must play a function. They put the body into function. So on the love side, there is no limit on this side. They are never too much. They are either or. You cannot have 99% security, can you? It's no security. You cannot have 99% truth. You cannot have 99% righteousness. It's either 100% or no percentage. And our mind works like that. If a person, you have been together 20 years and he once shows that he betrays you, you think subconsciously that he never loved you. That's how you think. No matter what do you think consciously, you exclude that he ever loved you. And this is how our mind works. It's either or. Yes, there's no balance like it is in physical items. In physical items, you need 37 degrees Celsius, or, you need so much water, not too much, not too less. So you are always in a balance. But on the spiritual items, there's only lack or full supply. That's why our body reacts. Our body reacts on the input of our mind. Because all the histories that you take from patients, and if you work in a health profession or whatever, take the story of every patient that comes to you with his physical things. And he will tell you how many stories? One. And it's all about love. Every story. You see, I find it out only in 2007 because I started 2004. But I must tell you, every story that a human tells you is never about food. It's never about what to eat or drink. It's always about his relationships. It's always about his spiritual needs. Not one exception. Not one exception. Because the battle in our mind is because of the spiritual things of righteousness and truth. I have many secular people in my practice, and they are thinkers. I like secular people. And he says, there is an issue. If you say that we need love, it does not exist on earth. I said, you're right. Because if we need righteousness, to what tree can we go to take righteousness? Can we go to some tree? Can we go to some plant? Can we make some drops of righteousness and say, look, someone did wrong, let's take some drops and you're fine? Wouldn't that be nice? I would be the most richest doctor. I would have made just righteous pills. Yes, you sell them for 0.01 cent, but you have every human being as your patient. Because they all have that lack of righteousness. They are somewhere, they experience injustice. They experience taking away their liberty. If you ask children, their greatest need is what? What is your greatest need, children? What is it? No, they don't care about. It's liberty. Am I right? Am I right? Yes, it's liberty. That's the first need in children and in us as well. But children express it very nicely, yes? They are very happy when their liberty is taken away, yes? And one 13-year-old girl, she came with her parents, and she wanted to talk to me personally, and she says, I live at home like in a cage. Because parents restrict what? Liberty. So when they are old enough, she would move from home, but she still is there. Why? Because she's physically for security dependent, but in the moment she's not. She will stay because liberty is stronger than life. Much stronger. So, 9 out of 10 diseases is just an expression of a lack of a spiritual need. Imagine a person comes to you as a doctor and he expresses through his physical deficiency that he has a spiritual need, and you offer him food for that. Would you call that malpractice? I would. Because we must understand what is human's first need. You see, there are 2 items that we have. We have life and purpose. So if they come into conflict, what is stronger? What can a person give up and what can he never give up? So let's say first, what can he give up? Life or purpose? Now you see, you have read a lot of, you have went through school, and Maslow, a big psychologist, just fooled whole humanity. Because he went from a theory, not from practice. So he put in that triangle how much of the physical items and how much of the spiritual. What did Maslow do? He almost filled it with the physical, and at the top he put some spiritual. But you know what reality is? It's exactly the opposite. So, life, man can always give up. But he can never give up purpose. He can never give up. Disease is not a matter of survival, like medicine and some people want to show it to us. Disease is just a matter of purpose. I didn't find something else in all my patients' history. It is life everyone has, but what do we not have? Purpose. And what gives purpose? A spiritual thing or a physical one? It's a spiritual one. The satisfaction of the physical needs will almost lose their importance when man lacks the spiritual needs. That's the truth. And I have to see it in my patients that my eyes were open and said, what we learned in school is totally nonsense. So why is this so? We just need to know. I finish in 5 minutes. So there is a cause, yes? How many effects can come from a cause? Unlimited effects. So primary effect, secondary effect, tertiary effect, it goes in a line. So we have stress, and we agreed that stress is an effect. That makes dizziness, that makes you fall, and so on. You have anxiety. That makes you a bad behavior and also bad. You lost your work because you don't go to school anymore. You're afraid of everything. And then you have conflicts that makes you depressed. And then you go to suicide. Why? What would you treat on this? Would you treat this side or would you go to this? Yes, so we must find it out. So there are two things in life we must separate. You know what it is? It's cause and effect. They are always different. A cause can never be an effect, and an effect can never be a cause. We just take the primary cause, the primary effect for the cause of the secondary, but that's not right. It's just we do it, but it's not correct by the way it functions. There is the cause, and the effect can never be the same. So when we experience body disease, is it an effect or a cause? We all say it's an effect. Now, by the law, you know that where the effect is, the cause cannot be. Yes? So where you have the effect, the cause cannot exist. So if your body is sick, the sickness cannot come from your body. That's so simple as it can be. Because you would never think when you have a ditch in your car, in your bump in your car, you would never think, oh, let's see to this, maybe this made it to himself. Yes? You would not take it out and put it under a microscope and say, let's see if it has some genes that may have made it. It's pure stupidity. But in medicine, it's science. Yeah? Because you think ever in the genes to find the cause of disease? Genes are what? Cause or effect? Effect. So don't care about genes. They never say anything except they respond to inputs and bring an effect. That's why they don't matter. Because they are effects. If we want to know the cause, Genetics do say nothing to us. So we have inheritance. It's not our action. We have accidents. It can hurt our body. Chemistry. Can we know what we eat? I hope that you don't know what you eat, especially when you travel like me. But even if not, you have no idea. Even if it's organic written on it, you have no idea where it comes from. And even if you take it from your garden, you don't know which animal has passed by or whatever has done to that, and you still eat it because it's organic. But you have no idea where it comes from. So all our health books are about what? Food. Is that something that is not right? Thoughts are only our action. And they are not even, there is no study in medicine about thoughts. You have no definition of thoughts. You don't know where they start from. That should be our study. And that was the study of Solomon. Solomon knew where they started from. So we must know that. So we have our brain. We know that thoughts must somewhere come from our head. Yes? Or do they come from our stomach? Yes? Where do we think? In our head. Yes? We think in our head. So we have the cortex there, and we will look tomorrow more clear. And in the cortex we have billions of neurons, and they all have a cable, so I call it, yes, where the electricity goes down, and the whole physical body is in both cortexes. And then you come into the limbic system, where then they separate, they interfere each other, and so we are two halves that come together and are switched together, are woven together, but they remain separate at the beginning. That's why we have a one-sided thing, because the brain is separate. That's why you have only on one side breast cancer and the other not, because it must start from your brain. It must start from there. So now the question is, the brain functions with electricity, and the limbic system responds with chemistry. That's how everything in the body works. Chemistry and electricity. Chemistry, electricity, chemistry, electricity. That's how all in the body works. But the question is, where do the thoughts, do you have thoughts or not? Okay. Must they have an origin? Yes or no? Must they start from somewhere? Yes. So, where do they start? From the brain or not from the brain? So where do thoughts and mental abilities come from? That's a good question for tomorrow, to not sleep tonight. Is it? Because we must. If we don't know where thoughts start, we don't know where our need for righteousness, for love comes from. And if we don't have that, we miss the major or the secondary part of man. The major. Because we do think how much? No, it's never too much. It's only what you think. Yes? Thinking is a very important thing, and it is that what you do most. You know how many decisions you take per second? How many breaths of air you take per second? No, you don't even have for a second. You need 16 seconds, 17 seconds to take one breath. But how many decisions do you take in 1 second? It's about over 200 in 1 second. So that's a mechanism that is there that you need to what? Control, because you control it. And we will see and go into that, because we must understand, if thinking is the main process in humanity, then thinking must be in the center of disease. Thinking must be that what we need to understand. Because it is, in science, not understood. It's just a field with no edges. But this is also an advantage. If we can understand it and share it, and you will see there is a clear pattern of how we think. And I saw our way to think is in every human being the same or not the same? It's in every human being. The function of thinking is identical. It's like your heart beats identically. The way, it's just what you think is not identical. The content is different. But the process of thinking is in every human being identical. From the first inception of a child until he dies. Because it's function. No one can change that. So understanding that will make us understanding where disease comes from. And it will make a difference, not in our life for us, because we don't want to be healthy for us, do we? Because we want to be healthy in order to what? To serve. Because we were made to serve. Health is just a means for it. It's not an end of it. But we must attract somehow people with their health because they want to feel good. And then we can help them to see what they need to see in order to be healthy, to do something. Because we were made to do, not to sit around. So any questions for tonight? I'm done. Sorry, it took a little long, but I had to make a long introduction.
No questions.
No questions? That's good. I always am happy when questions come, and I'm also happy when questions don't come. So you can be happy all the time. Well, that we study tomorrow.
Well, yeah.
There must be, at the end, you must raise a curiosity so that they come to the next meeting. Yes. So.
Well, thanks for messing with our brains tonight and
yes.
Turning everything upside down and back to front and inside out. But that was, yeah, very, very deep and profound. So thank you very much. When you're talking about mothers with their university children, you must have been in our home yesterday listening to our conversation. Anyway.
Yes. But you're not the first patient. Some patients, I say, have you been in my home? So,
yeah.